Hey guys, it's Retired at 40. Thanks again for joining me. Van build's coming together really fast already. If you haven't joined us before, we're doing a complete Ram Promaster conversion. It's a 2016 118 wheelbase. It is the low roof model. And today I got this nice big package that says glass on it. I'm putting windows in today. I'm doing this window right here on the slider and this window right here. So let's open these things up. So the reason I like these seamless windows is just because of that. It gives you a nice seamless look. A lot of people use the universal windows, and I just kind of think that they look just like that, universal. They look like they would just kind of fit on anything. The other reason I like these is they use the OEM metal cutouts on the inside. So let's go take a look. You can see the factory openings are right here. The only thing that's in your way is this right here, which will just knock out real simple. But it gives you basically a template to cut out already, which is really nice because that's the way the factory windows are put in as well. All right, before I start making a mess, I always measure like 3 or 4 times. Measure the window, measure your opening, make sure the window is gonna fit, because if you screw this up, there's no bigger size. This is it. So you really want to make sure that it's the right thing for what you're doing. I've already kind of on the outside, I've test fitted and held the window up to the opening, or up to the where you can see the factory molding. So our window is good. Next thing we need to do is bang this little, just this structural frame out of here. You just need a cold chisel and some kind of hammer. We're just gonna break these little tabs loose. Get your chisel under there. Same thing on the top. And it'll just pop loose. So I'm all about taking precautionary measures as much as possible before ruining a $20,000 vehicle. So I'm going to take a drill with a metal bit on it, and I'm just going to drill a bunch of pilot holes all the way around. And then I'm going to go on the outside. I'm going to basically connect the dots. And then as I'm cutting this out, I can go outside and I can check and make sure that all of my lines are starting to connect. All right, so I've done 3 in each of the round corners. I've done 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, and then 1 in the center of each of the side. Now we can just take a ruler or something and kind of connect the dots. That gives us a good baseline of where we need to be. The next thing we need to do is get our blade hole started. I'm going to use a die grinder like this, but you have to make a space so that blade can slide through, that you can start cutting this whole template out. So the metal in here is actually really thin. As long as you don't get down to this, then it's actually doubled up down here. But this metal is actually really flimsy and it cuts really nice. I'm just using a Sawzall. So you can also use a jigsaw. The good thing about the jigsaw is that you're gonna get a lot cleaner line. You will need to tape this outside because the jigsaw will bounce up and down a lot more than the Sawzall will. But you're not gonna be able to find, since you're gonna have to do it on the outside, you're not gonna know where exactly this line is. This is just kind of a general idea of where the line is. Unless you're cutting from the inside, you're just not gonna know for sure. The other really nice thing about the jigsaw is that you can turn a corner with it, whereas with the Sawzall, it's a little bit harder to do. All right, before I get any farther, I'm gonna put a little bit of tape just to keep this thing held together, and that way it's not gonna fall down, scratch paint, do anything like that. All right, let's finish it up. I'm just gonna take this tape off real slowly. Look at that. All right, so now that this one's done and we have the tools out still, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the other side. And you need to make sure that you allow yourself enough time for this to dry. It says that you can move the car within 3 hours. you want to completely let the adhesive dry for 24 hours and no water on it for 72 hours. You are one lazy dog, Murph. So we're gonna do the same thing on the slider door. We're just gonna drill a bunch of pilot holes around. We'll trace on the outside. After using the jigsaw on the first one, I do think the jigsaw is easier because you can cut from the outside. It is a little bit tougher to feel this edge with the blade. You kind of just have to guess where it's at, but I'll show you how we can clean that up on both sides after we get this one cut out. Also on this one, you can't pound this structural piece out, so we're just gonna cut right through it. That'll be a double layer, so it will be a little bit tougher to get through this, and we might want to use the Sawzall on that part just because it does cut a little faster. The tough part is done, the scary part is done. You hope at this point that you did everything right and you're measured okay. If there's any uneven spots along here, you're gonna wanna clean them up with a Sawzall or a grinder or your jigsaw. But after you're done with that, you wanna take any burrs off of the whole edge, any high spots, you wanna take a file and do that. So after you file the whole sill of the window, you wanna get everything cleaned up with rubbing alcohol. So any of this little leftover stuff from tape, any imperfections in the car, you wanna clean out. You don't wanna prevent that adhesive from not sticking to something. So you wanna take this and just really cover it as well as you can. So the next thing I'm gonna do is take this weather stripping and I'm gonna cut it to size. I'm gonna fit it over all of the rough cut edges. So next we're gonna take a urethane primer, and it's just basically makes the adhesive stick better, but you don't want to get, you want to trim the edges out, but you don't want to get it too far out because it will spread. I'm gonna go to the other side and then we're gonna let this dry for about 10 minutes until it is not sticky to the touch. If you have any leftover, I'd also try and just hit the edge of where all this stuff was cut, just so it doesn't start to rust if it's ever exposed to moisture. So it's getting really windy out, and I don't want the whole video to sound like wind noise in the microphone, so I'm going to do less talking and more working, and I'll just give you some subtitles and tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to use this adhesive. It's called P2G. It's by Sikaflex. I'll put a link down below if I can find it on Amazon or something similar. You need to make sure that all the reveals along here all line up, or it's going to look funny from the inside. Alright, I got both windows done now. I got the tape holding everything up, and there's definitely a real fine line between too much of the stuff and not enough. So you definitely want to get enough to get a nice watertight seal and enough strength to hold the window up, but you don't want to have too little and miss out on all that. But if you get too much, you get little globs like this coming out. I'm hoping that I can just take a razor blade and clean it up if I have to. The other side turned out really good. This one I kind of probably overdid it just a bit since it's kind of poking out. But I'm gonna let this sit overnight. It says you can actually drive it within 3 hours. I like to overdo things and just be extra precautious, so I'll let this sit until tomorrow morning and then we'll come check up on it. So before I give you the final results and the total cost of my build so far, as well as the total cost of just these windows, I want to remind you to take a minute to subscribe. If you subscribe, take a minute to hit the notification bell. That will notify you of future videos when they come out. Also give me a thumbs up or a like. It really helps the YouTube algorithm get this video to the people who actually want to use it and want to see it. As always, take a moment to leave a comment. I always love hearing from the community. I love hearing about other people's builds. At the end of every video, I give you a total cost of what my conversion has cost so far. And parts 1 through 4, I'm into it for $19,079. And then I realized on part 5 that I forgot to give a total for the bed build. That was $193.43. And then my windows, so for this slider door window, this is $229. And for the kitchen window, we're looking at $500. That means our total for the windows with shipping is $879.98. And I also want to mention that these windows came from Van Windows Direct, and I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I'm really happy with their product. For our grand total of the Ram Promaster cost, we're all in at $20,152. Make sure you stick around for the next video. We're going to put a kitchen in here. We're going to put some solar panels in. We're going to put some storage cabinets on the side here. In the meantime, I'm retired at 40. Remember to live life simple. Check out these other videos if you have a chance. We'll catch you next week.